Professor Tom Calma is the first fellow elected to the Australian Academy of Science who identifies as an Aboriginal person.
And it doesn't come without recognising the responsibility of such a role, and that is both working within the Academy but also within the general population to get other Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people recognised as fellows into the future.
Professor Calma is used to breaking new ground. He became the first Aboriginal man to hold the position of Chancellor of any Australian university when appointed to the role at the University of Canberra. Education is one of his passions. Despite significant growth, the gap between Indigenous and non-Indigenous student enrolments at Australian universities remains large. Professor Calma says the problem starts much earlier in life.
If you don't have good experiences at the primary and secondary school level, your chances of going on to higher education are pretty much diminished.
He says colonisation meant that Indigenous children often weren't able to practice their own culture or language. That lack of natural comfort is often compounded by economic and health disadvantages. Professor Calma has spent much of his career trying to improve those everyday realities. While serving as Australia's Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander Social Justice Commissioner, he released a landmark report in 2005 that became the catalyst for the Close the Gap campaign.
We managed to get the government of the day to agree that at the opening of Parliament each year, they would provide a report about what they'd achieved in the previous year on addressing health equality, which was fantastic. That's a great level of accountability.
He's currently the National Coordinator for tackling smoking in Indigenous communities.
Governments, right up until the late 60s, paid Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people, if not all, but in a good proportion of their wages by way of rations: sugar, flour, salt, tea, and tobacco. And so we developed a culture of smoking.
Poor policy is something he hopes introducing an Indigenous voice to Parliament will help overcome. Professor Calma was co-chair of the Voice Co-Design Senior Advisory Group. He says while a voice to federal Parliament is important, so too is a second tier of voice, which will enable Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people within different regional areas to determine their own priorities.
Then they will sit down with the three tiers of government and identify the solutions. And they should do that in a co-design way. And that's when we'll see a real bite and we'll see change.
Bringing people together is a common theme for Professor Calma. He says this also applies in science and believes researchers of all backgrounds should tap more into Indigenous knowledges.
You can't survive living in an arid environment like we have in Australia across tens of thousands of years without having an understanding of science.
Professor Calma has praised the Academy's Reconciliation Action Plan for respecting the diverse cultures of Australia's First Peoples.
The more we can profile Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander scientists out there, the more aspiration there'll be for our kids to say, I can. That's the role I can play.